you've been told red meat will kill you, that processed meat is poison, and that fat is the devil? What if I told you that's not what the data actually shows? Not even close. In fact, the real killers are not what you're eating too much of, but what you're not eating enough of. Let's break this down with hard data and uncover the surprising truth about diet and disease. Today we're diving into the study Health Effects of Dietary Risks in 195 Countries, a systematic analysis of the Global Burden of Disease Study 2017. And what you're about to see will probably flip your assumptions, because despite all the fear around things like processed meat, red meat and sugar, they barely make a dent in the real numbers. The science says something different, and I'll walk you through it step by step. Let's start with a global study that tracked diet-related deaths and disease burden across 195 countries. The question they asked was simple: which dietary habits are linked to the most deaths and the most years lost to disease? And the answers? Not what you'd expect. The number one diet-related cause of death worldwide is not processed meat, it's not sugar, it's not even fat, it's sodium. Yep, too much salt. Right behind that, not eating enough whole grains, not eating enough fruits, not eating enough nuts and seeds, not eating enough vegetables. That's right, it's not about eating too much junk, it's about not eating enough real food. That's a massive shift in perspective. Now here's the surprise that most headlines will never tell you. When you look at the actual data, things like red meat, processed meat, milk and even sugars are way down the list. In fact, red meat ranks dead last on the list of diet-related risk factors for death. Below milk, below sugar, below even calcium intake. And processed meat? It barely moves the needle on global mortality or disability. I'm not saying that you should eat bacon with every meal. But based on this data, still these foods are the top priority when it comes to diet-related death. So where does all this dietary risk actually lead? Almost all of it, the deaths, the disease burden comes down to one major category: cardiovascular disease. Heart attacks, strokes, clogged arteries. And guess what causes the most of it? Not eating enough whole nutrient-dense plant-based foods. It's a diet deficiency problem, not a diet excess problem. That's a subtle but powerful shift in how we think about food. Let's dive deeper in how this varies across countries, which low and middle income regions carry the heaviest burden, and what this means for your diet, especially if you're chasing longevity and performance. We'll also talk about what to prioritize in your meals starting today. Because once you see the numbers, you'll never look at the food the same way again. The data breaks the world into 5 groups based on Socio-Demographic Index, or SDI. This measures income, education and fertility. It basically tells us how developed a country is. And what we see is wild. Let's start at the bottom. In low SDI countries like Chad, Niger or Afghanistan, diet-related deaths are sky high. Why? Not enough fruits, not enough vegetables, not enough fiber or healthy fats. Not even close. These people aren't eating fast food, they're struggling to get basic nutrition. Now move up to low-middle SDI countries like India or Pakistan, for example. Still high death rates, but now the story includes sodium and sugar-sweetened beverages, creeping into urban diets with global food chains. Now look at middle SDI countries like Brazil, China or South Africa. Here where things start to flip. People have more food, but traditional diets are being replaced. Whole grains go down, sodium and processed foods go up. And food, fiber, nuts, still not enough. Then you hit high middle SDI countries like Mexico, Turkey or Thailand. More access, more variety, but also more industrialized food systems. People could eat better, but they often don't. And finally, high SDI countries like the US, Germany, Japan or Australia. These are the wealthiest nations. But still, the data shows that they're falling short. Not because of scarcity, but because of diet choices. Here, it's a mix of too much sodium, too few whole grains, still not enough fruits or fiber. We're not dying because we eat junk food. We're dying because we don't eat the right foods consistently enough. Let's talk about something most people ignore: disability adjusted life years. DALYs measure not just deaths, but how many years of healthy life you lose because of disease. That means how long you live in pain or with chronic illness or unable to move or work. It's the real cost of a bad diet, and it's often invisible until it's too late. And again, main drivers are diets low in whole grains, low in omega-3s, low in nuts and seeds, low in vegetables, high in sodium. And just like before, diets high in red meat, sugar or even processed food, they're way down the list. You might not feel it when you skip your greens, but long term, the data shows it's eating away at your quality of life. This isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. So let's break the myth one last time. Red meat, near the bottom of the global diet-related death list. Sugar, not great, but not even top 10 in the most Dolly's stats. Processed meat, again, a risk sure, but nowhere near as deadly as what you don't eat enough of. And what makes this even more powerful is how easy the shift can be. Swapping white rice for whole grains, adding a handful of nuts per day, eating fish once or twice a week, and cutting salt-heavy sauces and seasoning more naturally. Blending veggies into your existing meals instead of forcing a clean diet. This isn't some magical cleanse. It's strategic, incremental, and based on global data, not food fads. So the big takeaway. We've been told for years to avoid bad foods, but the real science says it's not about what you remove, it's about what you're missing. Food isn't black and white, it's a spectrum. And your health is shaped not by what you cut out, but what you consistently put in. The most dangerous diet, the one that's empty of nutrients, not full of sins. So the next time someone blames red meat for heart disease or sugar for diabetes, ask them this. What's actually causing the most deaths worldwide? If this video challenged your thinking, I want to hit the like button and comment data over dogma below to let me know you made it to the end. And if you're tired of fitness and nutrition content that's based on fear instead of facts, hit subscribe. I'm Denis, engineer turned fitness coach, helping you cut through the noise and build a body that actually performs. So see you in the next one. Bye.